Sharp suit, Robert. Like it very much.
MP suit.
Belongs to you, though, doesn't it?
Hmm?
You haven't got to give it back at the end of the show, though, have you?
No. Do you have
Unlike
to give
some
yours
of us,
back?
yes, go home in a barrel. Now, television presenters turn politician. That's nothing new, but it's very much the other way round now. Politicians are getting into television presenters' chairs. I mean, it's been Tebbit this week, Mr. Tebbit.
Mr. Tebbit, Norman Tebbit, ex-cabinet minister. I know. I find that kind of strange. I've never really understood, although I'm saying it about myself too, I suppose, this need that people have to be on television. I can't really actually understand why practising politicians want to do it. I can understand them if they're at the end of their career, or if they have reasons like I had for wanting to leave politics. I can't actually understand someone either like Norman or Austin Mitchell, who are in the middle of, or active politically, don't appear to be resigning, wanting to leave the House of Commons and go into television. I find that rather strange. I don't see how they can juggle the two together anyway.
What about style now? They've all got to find their own style. How would you describe yours? I mean, abrasive, provocative, rude?
Rude? What's rude? What do you mean rude? Why'd you pick rude?
Well, only because...
I don't know. No, I don't think I'm rude. I'm not intentional. I don't know. The style, whatever the style is, it's evolved. I didn't set out with any kind of preconceived notions of what I was going to do, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just dumped right in the deep end of a television programme, had to feel my way. Very much of the style of the programme has, and the kind of atmosphere has developed to a large extent, obviously, I suppose, around my personality, but also because of the nature of the set. And I've never consciously, in any premeditated way, set out to achieve any particular objectives. I try as much as I can to be myself, and if I'm rude, then I suppose that's me that's rude, but that's genuine. But it's not something that's manufactured or affected.
Is there any issue on the show that you would not tackle?
No, I don't think so.
What's your favourite been, the one you've relished most?
I think probably the Stand By, we call it Stand By Your Man. And we had a lot of women on who were standing by their husbands. One husband was a murderer, another was an alcoholic, another a gambler, bank robber, rapist, man who'd had affairs, man who got senile dementia. And that was my favourite, because the show has taught me a lot about women, and I have a great deal of admiration and respect for women to a much greater extent than I ever had before. They always do all the dirty jobs. They always get the rough end of the stick. And I mean this quite seriously. And they are the stronger sex. They're the ones that are there when there's trouble. And that show demonstrated that very clearly to me. These were these women in terrible, adverse circumstances, but they're carrying on. Not just carrying on, but laughing, smiling, laughing at themselves.
Do you enjoy their company as well?
Very much, yeah. I like women, yeah. Don't we all? Yeah, no, I do. Of course, yes, I like women's company, but I actually like the company of women, per se. I prefer women's company to men. I think they're more honest.
Was it part of your upbringing as well? There were a lot of women in your young life.
Yeah, my father was killed during the war. I was brought up for a short period of time by my mother, and I was the first grandson from a family that valued its sons, and they all got to be boxers and all the rest of it. And I had lots of aunts and grands and what have you, and so I was spoilt, and I was made to feel very special by them, and I was surrounded by women until my mother married my stepfather, who was an ex-flight sergeant in the RAF, and came along and said, right, we're going to make a man of him, and he did. But I was brought up comfortable, familiar, happy, relaxed in the company of women, and enjoyed it.
Now, you've tackled some interesting subjects, and you talked about the female orgasm and stuff like that. How frank are your...
Funny you remember that one.
I never saw it, I was just told about it.
Oh, you should have watched. It was very revealing.
Very revealing.
Everyone would have learnt a great deal.
Yes. But how frank are your... how frank are your family discussions, or were they? With all the women around there.
That's an example. So that was the kind of thing you're not supposed to discuss, and everybody said you can't discuss that. It was my suggestion for a long time. I'd wanted to do a programme on female sexuality. All women in the audience, there's 60 women and me, and we actually were deciding. Not a bad idea, is it?
You know very well.
And we decided we would do it. The night before, this was on a Monday morning, the night before on a Sunday, it happened to be our 25th wedding anniversary. We got all of our family staying with us over a whole weekend. And it's like probably a lot of families, that at the end of the Sunday evening and all the men are in the one room and all the women are in the kitchen clearing up, washing up, and it was just like old times for me. I kind of walk in there and say, oh, yeah, what are we talking about? Who's having a good gossip? What can we gossip? And it was an amazing kind of combination. There was my mother, my wife's mother, and my wife, several aunts in their 60s and 70s, my mother's two sisters, my mother-in-law's sister, and my daughter. All generations, all ages. So there's grandmothers, my wife, and my 19-year-old daughter. And what are you doing tomorrow, Robert? Female sexuality. What? They all said. And within 5 minutes, we were having a frank, marvellous discussion on female sexuality that bridged the classes and the generations.
But did it bring in...
And they were saying to me, you ask this, you've got to ask this question. You know what I find interesting? And that was I mean, in many ways, the discussion in my kitchen with my female relatives of all ages was probably far franker, more interesting, more lively than the very, very good Kilroy that we did the following morning.
But were they talking in the third person, or did you learn things about your Auntie Agnes and that sort of thing?
There was one aunt who turned round and said, who shall be nameless, of course, who said, because there were a lot of them there, so it can be reasonably anonymous, who turned around and said, Robert, you know what you've got to ask? You must ask them, do they have an orgasm? And the whole kitchen went quiet. And my mother-in-law kind of looked like that. And another aunt went, I can remember a cigarette. Yeah. and you could see them all saying, oh. I don't know what they meant.
Your name now, it has an upper-class ring to it, I mean, Kilroy-Silk. Yeah. What's the truth of it?
My name's Robert Silk. My father, as I said, was killed during the war. My mother remarried his best friend. They both joined up together on the same day. They boxed, went to the same school together, played football together, both courted my mother, both in love with her. She ended up marrying them both. His name was Kilroy. He brought me up as his own son, was very proud of me as his son, and refused to adopt me, refused to change my name, saying, he's Billy's lad, which is my own father's name. He'll always be Billy's lad, but I'll bring him up as my son, but he's keeping his own father's name. And so I had two names, two families, still have got two families. Still the Silks and the Kilroys were all at my house at Christmas. They all grew up together in the slums of Birmingham. And it was very difficult for me. I was actually being asked to make a choice of which family, and in a sense renounce one by choosing one name over another. They wouldn't have said that, but they would have felt it. My stepfather would have felt it very deeply if I'd got rid of the Kilroy, because I had two names, Kilroy at home, Silk at school. And it was a headmaster who suggested, well, simple, just call yourself Kilroy-Silk, which I did. I edited the school magazines. One occasion somebody put a hyphen in. Immature, impressionable as I was then, I thought, that looks nice. And it stuck. And Kilroy-Silk it is. But you're quite right, it has a connotation. It causes me problems. It used to cause me problems because it has connotations which don't actually relate to me. I was brought up in the slums of Birmingham. I'm very proud of my working class family and my working class roots.
The seat's still warm, Kilroy.
I kept it warm for you, Julian.
I'm the envy of millions of housewives. But that's another story. Hello.
I thought you would get dressed up for the occasion, but never mind. Look around. Is this your kind of audience, Julian?
Oh, I don't know. This is in the round, isn't it?
Oh, they're behind as well.
Oh, it's hard luck if you're round there, isn't it? The back of Kilroy's head all evening. Oh, look at that man there. That's my kind of punter. Is he in the third row with a brown... That is brown jacket, is it? Yeah. What's your name?
Mark.
Mark. Yeah. What's the one syllable? I'm going to work on Mark. But that's not what I'm here for, is it?
Oh, well, he's a big fella.
He is, but not too big.
Could be fun, though.
Would you know about that sort
No,
of
I
thing?
don't know. What sort of thing are we talking about?
I'll tell you later.
No, you tell me now.
Nope, later.
Listen, nothing is
I'm here
forbidden.
to talk to this. Don't touch me, please. Can we have a close-up on this man's hands, please? I think you should sit on them.
Michael wants to speak.
Michael.
What? So I just lost interest for a bit there.
So did I.
Have you finished with Mark?
I've finished with Mark, or he's finished with me. Have you got a sweet in your mouth? What is it? What sort of sweet are you sucking?
What is it? Mint.
A mint. There's a T on the end of mint. I think you'll find.
Do you find that people love to be insulted by entertainers?
The right people do. Mark would love it. I mean, that would make his day. Some people wouldn't. Some people, if they're insecure or a bit jumpy, then you can't sort of play around with them. That poor woman's stuck behind a camera over there. It's hard luck, isn't it?
But Mark is secure and comfortable. He wouldn't worry about what you did, would he?
No, he'd just chew on his mint.
What about trick or treat now? I mean, that's created uproar, hasn't it, in various ways? Lots of complaints.
Yes, some people take it a bit to heart, don't they? I think it's a sort of programme... Oh, you're all right. I think it's a sort of programme that you should have on while you're doing the ironing or making a telephone call. It's not really worthy of studying, you know, too closely, I don't think.
Do you wish it was on at 2 a.m? Would it suit you better?
Well, they probably wouldn't have had to cut quite so many of my lines if it had been on. I didn't have a single joke in last week's. I don't know if you watched.
No.
They were all snipped. That was a good excuse, no doubt.
Which one was it, yes or no?
A joke from Kilroy.
But Jimmy Greaves, I'm told, lodged a personal complaint against you. I mean, are you profoundly offended by what he said?
No, Jimmy Greaves... he drinks, doesn't he? I think he'd probably been at the bottle that morning.
It's only the milk that he attacks these days, incidentally.
Only?
The milk bottle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that a sort of BBC joke that
Oh, he's putting the record straight, really.
Right.
But,
if people don't like me because of my sexuality... Oh, it's gone very quiet now. That's not really my problem. You know, if people have various prejudices against various minority groups, and he's one of those people, it's something he has to come to terms with, I think.
But no one would guess you belong to a minority group at all.
No, I hide it very well, don't I?
What about your mum and dad? Did they enjoy your shows?
I watched the first episode at home with my parents, and my mother sat there and then she said, "Is that it?" when it finished. I think they think it's quite jolly. It's a bit hard for them to be detached because they know me. Indeed, I'm the fruit of their loins. So it's hard to be objective, you know.
Are they proud, then?
I think so. I think they find it all quite jolly.
At school, were you regarded as being very different?
Yes, I was different. You're not supposed to be different, are you? You're supposed to conform. And it was a school run by Benedictine monks where the emphasis was all on cricket and rugby. And I couldn't do it, you know. I couldn't conform, so I just sort of went to the complete other extreme of sort of flaunting whatever made me different.
Did they make you play rugby, for example? Did you actually play the game?
I did play it for years, and I never understood the rules at all. I used to get into trouble if I didn't try at all, so I worked out that when you got onto the pitch, if you got the mud and sort of put a bit of mud down your leg, and then just whoever had the ball, everyone would chase them for some reason. So if you stayed about 5 yards behind and looked, there was no danger of you actually getting the ball, and you wouldn't get into trouble either. That was my sort of way around it. Although I did... I was just doing that one day and the ball just landed in my hands, and people said, "Run, Clary." So I ran, and the wind was flying through my hair, because I know that they try and stop you, you know, they do all this business, and nobody did. I couldn't quite understand. And then I got to the line. Is it a touch line?
Yes.
And I put the ball down, because I've seen that's what you're supposed to do. And I was at the wrong end. I was supposed to be the other end. so that's the only time I touched the ball in about 8 years, I'm afraid.
So you don't know whether you were a hooker or a three-quarter?
I think I was a hooker, Michael.
You were a sporty lad at school, I believe?
Yeah, I played rugby, knew the right end too. No, I played most sports. I sympathised with Julian because I actually like sports and was reasonably good at them. But there's always this presumption in all schools that every kid had to do all sports, that you had to be good at it, and clearly a lot of kids aren't. And I always felt that I mean, to me, it was the highlight of the week to go and play football. To most of my very good friends, it was something that absolutely crucified them. The mere thought of having the physical exertion and sometimes the humiliations that were involved if you're not good at it. And I don't know why we have this kind of bizarre English notion that everybody's got to do it, suffer it, and be
I never
good at
wanted
it.
to win, really. I didn't care if, if I won.
They like you to be an all-rounder.
They do, yeah.
Your original act was called the Joan Collins Fan Club. I mean, what did that mean, that you were simply that and decided to call yourself that?
It was... Well, I was going round with all the clothes and the makeup, and I needed a hook on which to hang it, as it were, to explain it. So I was lying in my bath, and I had that flash of inspiration, and there we have it.
I'll tell you what, there is one thing missing from the present company, and that is, of course, Fanny, the wonder dog. Where is she? What has happened?
My partner, who retired, well, she doesn't perform with me on stage anymore, but she's still around. And some people think she's been put to sleep because she's served her purpose, so we could bring her on just to prove that she's still
yes,
alive
let's
and
do
well.
that. Would she need another chair, do you think?
She would need another chair. That would be ideal.
Ricky, may we have a chair, please?
Oh, Ricky, thank you. You'll have to get up and move along, Kilroy.
You come and sit what's this dog going to do?
Fanny's
Do you want
going
to sit here? She's going to sit
I'm
there.
going to sit there.
Yeah. Shove
You'll
along,
have to
lads,
sit
and let's
over
see what
there.
happens. I believe
told.
applause is not required, is that right,
No, we
Julie?
don't want people to clap because she doesn't like it. But,
She might change her mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present Fanny, the wonder dog.
Fanny, do you want to get up on there? There. You want to sit here, do you?
That's tremendous.
This Kilroy-Silk. He's a devil with his hands, Fanny. Come here.
She's inspired a novel, hasn't she?
I've written a book about her with Paul Merton, which is about her life story up until her retirement.
Aren't you amazing?
Fanny, will you be doing any book signings, do you think?
Not in ink, I don't think.
She's a lovely dog. How old is she?
She's 8 years old.
And she's retired.
Yeah, she had enough of traipsing around the country, so now when I go on tour, she can go and stay at home with my mother.
That means that in human terms, she's the same age as me, and she's retired. That's very sad. Anyway, she's very welcome, indeed. We've got you a nice, warm seat, at least.
Yes, no dog hairs.
No good.
No, she doesn't molt. You, of course, you ignored the old warning about not acting with children and animals. You did it both in one go. You've been working with baby gorillas.
That's true.
Are they cute and lovable?
They are. They're very, very strong, very athletic. And they once they get used to you, they're very, very emphatic with their affection. They pull your hair and bite you, test you. But they're really fun. They sort of use me as a trampoline.
What about their mums, though? Were they quite easy about it?
Well, actually not in the beginning. By the time I left, I always got the feeling that when I came over the hill, the mothers would see me and just sort of go, well, great, the babysitter is here again for the afternoon. I once had sometimes the babies would hold on to you. Really, you're not supposed to initiate anything with the gorillas, but the babies would sort of attach themselves to you, and sometimes the mothers would come up. You'd suddenly feel this like that. He's too far away. And you sort of try to show them that, you know, it was the baby's idea. But the mothers are very protective, understandably.
Did it make you feel broody?
Well, yes, actually, it did. You know, it's amazing how much fun they were, especially when there were like 4 of them. I'd sort of like to have one human child and then one gorilla child, one of each, I think would be good.
Trying to think who can help you with that one.
I know a few.
Jimmy Greaves.
Jimmy Greaves. Because the gorillas in the film were not all they seemed to be, by which I mean they weren't all gorillas.
No, whenever the movie involved scenes where the gorillas were harmed or attacked, and sometimes when there was a baby gorilla in my actual camp, we didn't obviously want to use real mountain gorillas, not that we could have because they are wild. So we had, occasionally there'll be an inset of a gorilla hand or head or something like that. They obviously wouldn't do things over and over again, so we could catch them on different takes.
Weren't the chimpanzees disguised as well?
There were two little chimpanzees named Bongo and Lucky who played the Puckerpuss, the little gorilla that I save and I have to feed, and they were quite, actually, their human mother might be watching, but they were actually quite difficult. They'd wait until everything was set, and they'd have these little suits on, little furry suits, and black makeup all over their faces, and then they'd just wait until Michael Apted said action, and then they'd look around and go like that and pull their little hats off.
Yes. Did you do a kind of Dr. Dolittle, learn their language?
Well, I had to learn a few things, really, to reassure them. Friendly sounds. There's one thing they all do when they're content and eating, and it sort of is, I'd have to lower my voice a little, it sounds better with men, but it's and it means sort of, hello, I'm over here. And then if I was, not that I ever had to do this, but if I were afraid and wanted to, you know, to send out that kind of signal, which is, you know, watch out, I'd say, That's what the mothers would say to me when they, that's what they, that was the vocal instruction, leave my baby alone.
Did that work? I mean, did that kind of thing always work? They related to it?
Well, I think they obviously knew I wasn't a gorilla. They probably thought it was a pretty pathetic attempt, but the trackers, everyone did it. It was just a way of saying, I'm over here. If you don't let the gorillas know where you are, that's, some of them aren't that keen on people, so that they could actually be quite alarmed, and if one gorilla gets alarmed, then the silverback, who's the dominant male, he might decide to exhibit some show of power.
It's always the dominant male, isn't it, doing that sort of thing?
But they react
so
to that.
well.
Yes.
But they would react to that kind of sound.
Yes, they'd kind of look
language.
up. They're really not very interested.
Now, he was a big one. What did he weigh?
He's the biggest silverback they've seen on the mountain. He weighs over 450 pounds, and that was my second day.
What's that, 30 stone or something like that? I can't work that out, but it's a lot of...
It's big. It's like a refrigerator, moving fast. So.
Were you terrified?
I was a little terrified then because, of course, I just started, and I thought maybe I offended him in some way. And actually, the next day, he decided, he looked at me for a long time like this, and the camera was behind him, so they couldn't really see what he was doing. And then he got up, he beat his chest, ran up the hill, and knocked me over, which is quite a big thump. And I was very frightened then because I couldn't find the guy who was with us as a gorilla sort of liaison. He disappeared. And to my amazement, when I saw the rushes, I was knocked over, and I sat up and started taking notes. I mean, I was terrified, so I guess I was just trying to stay in
You were
character.
doing your will, weren't you? Writing your will.
What about the conditions of work up there in the mountains? Were they rough?
Well, they were rough for a film. We lived in tents, and we lived in tents most of the time, and hiked several hours every day. Especially when we were going up to see the gorillas, they keep moving. So once after a party for Brian Brown, my co-star, where we'd all stayed up quite late, I think we hiked about 8 hours. So it was rigorous, but very beautiful. Rwanda is a wonderful country, and the Virungas are these, you know, sort of misty mountains. And
So after all that trekking up and down for however long it took you, did you want then a complete change for your next assignment?
yes, I did actually, for very shallow reasons. I just wanted to stay at home and sleep in a nice bed and see my husband. So I took a small part in a Mike Nichols comedy where I play an evil person. But she wore very pretty clothes, which was a nice change after the...
This was on stage or
No,
film?
this was in a film. It'll be coming here, I think, this spring.
Yes, because you've probably done 2 or 3 since this one.
I'm doing Ghostbusters now, the second Ghostbusters. And,
Ah, yes. Now, what about that? I mean, is it the same team?
exactly the same team. As we all said to each other, older and fatter, but are we better? We'll find out. And actually, it's funny because it's not unlike working with the gorillas. I say that in a compliment. You never quite know what they're going to say or do. So it's sort of an improvisation, which I like, even though I'm not particularly good at it, but I think it's fun.
And are they good to you on that show?
Actually, Bill is always saying, you know, I'll ask a serious question about the scene, and he'll say something like, "Oh, you're trying to be Meryl Streep again, aren't you?" You know?
No, your mother, talking of actresses, your mother is an English actress, isn't she?
Yes. She was at RADA with Vivien Leigh and was a member of the Liverpool Rep and was in some movies like 39 Steps. She plays the villain with the missing finger, his daughter. And she was only in it for a second, but she was very good, I thought.
And what's her name?
Her name is Elizabeth Inglis.
Right, let's look for that name on the credits. Now, mentioning your father, as I'm about to, I must sit to attention, because he was, what, president of NBC?
Yes.
And he launched the chat show format in America, or something similar, is that right?
Yes, he did. He started the Today Show and the Tonight Show, and he was always trying to broaden the appeal of television to an audience, to present, you know, more shows for adult viewers.
So is he responsible for Johnny Carson being the star that he is now?
I mentioned that on the Tonight Show once. I think Johnny Carson has certainly made that his own show, but if it's the part of it that is the Tonight Show, my father is responsible for, because no one believed that anyone wanted to watch TV early in the morning and late at night.
So he was a powerful man in the industry, and obviously with influential friends. Did he give you a whole bag full of introductory letters to people in the industry?
Well, he did give me a list of names, and I started with the first one, who I sort of knew, called him and said, "Well, I'm just out of drama school, and I wonder if, you know, if I could come in and meet some casting people or whatever." He said, "Do yourself a favor, kid, get a job at Bloomingdale's," which is like our Harrods. And I never called another friend of my father's. I couldn't take the discouragement.
You've always played strong characters. In Alien, I believe, the character was written originally for a man.
Yes, it was, and I think it was just a very commercial choice to sort of change it into a woman's role, sort of the twist that the hero turns out to be a woman.
Julian perked up at that.
I love that film. I watched them last night on the
Oh,
video. You don't have any costume changes, though, do you? Just that one khaki
taking it
thing.
off.
It's all sweaty.
Yes.
And you're so brave in that film.
Maybe in the next one I'll wear something like this.
Well,
More
I should have it written into your contract.
the new Ripley.
Would you do any more of those?
Well, I read in the paper the other day that they were doing another one, but that I wasn't going to be in it.
Oh,
so.
it's an outrage.
There are 2 scenes, particularly apart from, well, it does involve costume, indeed. The 2 scenes that stick in the mind are, of course, John Hurt's stomach bursting open and your T-shirt and knickers at the end.
Thank you.
Certainly sticks in the mind. But yes, I also read, you read what you read about yourself. I read that they wanted actually, there was a possibility of you being entirely nude for that scene.
Well, there was actually, and at that point, because I knew so little about the film industry, I thought it was an interesting idea to have these sort of soft pink. All of us were supposed to be naked at one point, against this very technological background.
Oh, Corporal Hicks as well.
Now, who was he?
Corporal Hicks.
Hicks.
He's the good-looking one.
Oh, in the second one.
This is
Aliens.
Aliens.
We never talked about that for the second one.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused.
Right. But I remember coming down to the set, and it was that scene where Ian Holm has to take this porno magazine and attacks me with it, and Ridley Scott said, "We have this magazine, and we're going to put it up your hooter." And I said, "I don't think so." And he explained to me that that meant...
Your nose.
Right.
Does it mean something? It doesn't. Hooter?
I didn't know what it meant, but
Oh.
I wouldn't put anything past Ridley, actually.
No. So you didn't do it.
Well, no, it was a scene, and he tried to strangle me with this magazine. It was sort of a strange death attempt, but he was a robot. Maybe he didn't know any better.
Would you have minded doing the scene naked? Does it bother you at all?
At the time, I was so idealistic, I didn't think anything of it. Now I'm quite glad that we didn't do it, because I think that kind of thing... I get sent a picture of me in the little knickers quite often with, you know, letters, please sign this, I want to put this on my wall.
Oh, they've arrived, good.
I must say I don't usually send it back.
Do your leading men resent your height? Because not all stars are tall, are they?
No, I've been pretty lucky. Most of them are tall. I worked with Mel Gibson, who's a little shorter than I am, but he's very sort of open-minded, and he loved it when I wore high heels. And...
Julian and Robert would do that.
Listening.
Tall lads here. I do envy you.
How tall are you?
I'm about, well,
It's
tonight
stocking.
I'm about 6 feet, but usually I'm about 5'10".
That's in your bare feet, stocking feet, you're 5'10".
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I was getting
Just
excited.
tall. I like tall.
Sigourney, now, you were Chris and Susan, weren't you?
Yes.
Where did Sigourney come from?
Well, I was at a girls' school, and we all called each other by our last names. And I was called Susan, which I thought I was too tall for the name Susan. Which actually, I was named after a wonderful English friend of my mother's, who I hadn't met at that point. But anyway, I thought, well, I'm just going to change my name. And so I just took this name out of a book by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It was long, and I thought I was already this tall when I was about 12. So I don't know how or why I did. I just kept it, you know.
Serendipity would have been quite good as well. of course.
Serendipity Weaver. That would be interesting.
Julian, are you a Julian?
Yes, that's my real name, Julian, yes.
And you, Robert, have done a programme, haven't you, called What's in a Name? You must have come across some crackers there.
On names, there were lots of peculiar ones too, but I was actually very reassured to find that Robert is a... Because names... There was a woman on the programme who could actually identify. She said people's ages, social class, where you come from, where you live, and advertisers are now doing this by name. So a Dorothy or an Ethel or an Agnes is a certain type, lives in a certain place, certain age. Wendy, a Sharon, a Gary, a Julian. Julian's middle class, isn't it?
I should think
Bit
so.
of a Sue.
But show business...
Julian's middle, kind of a yuppie, isn't it, Julian?
Well, not when I was born.
Portable
They
phone.
didn't have yuppies then.
Whereas
It's a Roman name.
Robert's classless.
Comes from
Julian is a
Julius,
Roman.
yes.
But show business loving the diminutive, do they call you Siggy?
Yes, I like the name Siggy. Makes me feel like a ski instructor.
But to me, you'll always be Sigourney Weaver. And thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you. And Julian Clary. And Robert Kilroy-Silk.